Good morning, everyone. The Star Smeller come back at you with a bit of an interesting thing today. As I mentioned before, one of my favorite games is Fallout New Vegas. And I was lucky enough to have grabbed the collector's edition when it first came out back in 2010. Over the years, each piece of it has been lost to time. The box, as well as the graphic novel that came with it, were both destroyed by a flood. I lost the poker chips in a move. I lost the game case and bonus DVD in the move. Even as well as the platinum chip, and I eventually lost the original game disc. The platinum chip I showcased last time was the one I bought off eBay, and bleh. That's pretty much it. There is, though, one piece that I've managed to keep for all these years. 14 years ago, this October, I got this deck of cards. All modeled after, painstakingly, in fact, modeled after the playing cards from New Vegas, with a lot of very interesting things behind them. So, I'd like to just go through them for a bit for you and show you what I mean. Without further ado, these are the New Vegas playing cards. New Vegas Collector's Edition playing cards. Now, we'll go through these one page at a time. Because, there's a lot to highlight here that I really do like. So, first off, you have the rules. Every deck card comes with these. This actually is a little instructional pamphlet on how to play Caravan, which is the in-universe card game that they made up for the game. I've never played it. From what I understand, it's kind of like... Weirdly, I think it's closer to Marvel Snap than it is to an actual, gambling game that you'd play. And here on the back, you can see how each... So, there's multiple suits of cards, obviously. Or there's multiple... Okay, so because there's so many, different casinos in the game, and your Caravan deck is built from different cards from different casino decks, each card in this deck is from one of several casinos. So here you have the Tops, the Lucky 38, the Bison Steve, Lucky 38 again, Vault 21, Bison Steve, Gamora, and the Tops again. Okay, well, we'll go through any more that we find. And we have here our first set. So, at the top we have the two Jokers, Benny and the Courier. Benny is the guy who shoots your character in the head. The Courier is your character. Benny is probably most famous for being voiced by Matthew Perry of Friends fame, passed away last October. And he's also pretty well known for being based on Bugsy Siegel, who was known to wear a white checker suit and was kind of responsible for the modern Vegas. And then we get to our first suit, the Hearts. And the Hearts are all NCR. NCR is the New California Republic. They are ostensibly the closest thing to old world America left in the post-apocalypse. And here you have General Oliver, who's kind of like the leader of all the NCR forces in the area, because Vegas is in Nevada, not California, obviously. So basically, the NCR is an occupying force. And then you have Boone, who's one of the followers in the game, one of the best followers even, because he's a sniper. He shoots people from a long way. You help him avenge his dead wife. In fact, he's the guy who stays in the T-Rex along with his buddy Manny, also on this card. Then you have Cass, who's another follower. She's kind of like a drunk cowgirl archetype. You have Captain Pappas, who's NCR interrogator. She's an investigator, but when you first meet her, she's interrogating someone. You have Ambassador Crocker. He's kind of like the quest giver for the NCR. You have Alice McClafferty, who's like this like really mean businesswoman, works with the Crimson Caravan Company, who's kind of this like they're basically like Amazon for the post-apocalypse. Or, if we were to akin this to the Old West, they're Wells Fargo or Pony Express, what have you. They're responsible for moving stuff across the wastes. In fact, here you have their little thing, and on the back you have a couple more playing card casino decks: the Atomic Wrangler and the Silver Rush. So I should probably describe what each of the casinos is too. Okay, so Lucky 38 is a closed down casino. And so Lucky 38 is kind of the closed down casino. It's the fortress of a character we'll get into later. And that person is kind of the main quest giver for your character, the courier. So that's why the courier's under the Lucky 38. Then the tops is owned by Benny, and the chairman. That's why he gets the tops. And the Lucky 38 is basically shaped like a giant roulette wheel. That's why it's called the Lucky 38. The tops is kind of like the Bellagio or it's basically the Rat Pack, right? Benny's based on Bugsy Siegel. They all talk like Frank Sinatra. They all go ring-a-ding, baby, kind of thing. Then Vault 21 was a Vault-Tec. So Vault-Tec, oh lord, now I gotta explain Vault-Tec to you guys. Vault-Tec created atomic bunkers called vaults, and each one ran a very cruel and inhumane experiment, or just a really silly experiment, depending on the vault. For Vault 21, it was gambling. Basically, every argument had to be solved with gambling. And so, like, after the apocalypse, it opened up as a casino. Bison Steve is a closed-down casino. And Gomorrah. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the prostitute casino. I don't know if there's any prostitute casinos in Vegas, because, like you never hear about those. You always hear about the nice casinos. And we'll get into the nice casinos a little later. So here we have Crimson Caravan as Atomic Wrangler. I'm not sure why, because... Oh, I should say... Atomic Wrangler is a small-time casino on Fremont Street, now called Freeside. Basically, it's the part of Vegas that's not, sequestered away behind gates and walls. And it's kind of like Gomorrah, but like, without all the pomp and circumstance. Because, they do engage in those practices, but they don't, Like, it's literally in the Atomic Wrangler. It's, the hint is in the name. Silver Rush was a casino before the war. After the war, the husk of the casino is now a weapons store where they sell energy weapons. So let's see. Okay, so Colonel Hasu, he's another quest giver. He's like one of the good guy NCR types, because the whole idea of this game is that there is no right way to play it. Every faction has its good and bad sides. Sort of. We'll get into it. And Colonel Hasu is one of the good guys of the NCR. Then you have the NCR Rangers. They're kind of the face of Fallout New Vegas. The idea was that Arizona Rangers existed even after the war, and they eventually were kind of absorbed in the NCR as their elite force. The Crimson Caravan, as I said, kind of the Pony Express. The Gunrunners are they're Smith and Wesson for the apocalypse. They're the only ones still manufacturing their own firearms. Everything else you get is old. It's dim. Then Chief Hanlon, he's kind of this war hero played by Chris Christopherson. He's like he's the reason that the Mojave was not enslaved by the Legion. Colonel Moore, she's your high tier quest giver for Hoover Dam, or for the NCR. She is based at Hoover Dam, which is a big NCR base in the game because, like, you know, it's a power plant for one of the few resources that would still generate electricity in the apocalypse. Hydroelectric. It's a very, and also it's a big concrete fortress. It's a really good strategic position. In fact, Hanlon, he's the one who defended Hoover Dam from the Legion about 10 years ago in-game, at the start of the game. Let's see. President Kimball, he's president of the NCR, basically a figurehead. You have to keep him from dying in one of the quests, or, do a little, do some bad things if you're not. Pacer, he's part of a gang called the Kings, who are they worship Elvis. They model themselves after him. They all talk like him. I've been watching a show called Agent Elvis recently, and it reminds me a lot of New Vegas, especially the second episode, because it takes place in Vegas. Or no, that might be the third episode. And also it's got Howard Hughes in it, but we'll get into why that's relevant later. And then the Garrett twins. They run the Atomic Wrangler. The sister wants you to be a debt collector. The brother wants you to be, not a pimp, but like recruit talent, which is a ghoul or a zombie cowboy, a smooth talker, and a robot. The robot is for his personal use. And on the back you can see, like, that they actually do get their own, similar to Benny, they get their own place represented. Pacer, since the Atomic Wrangler is key to Freeside and the Kings kind of protect Freeside, gets that. Here's some of the really interesting ones. So let's see. On the back, you have the Ultralux, which is like the Luxor. It's a giant, it's not pyramid shaped, I don't think, but it's got like a pyramid fountain and stuff, so it is kind of like inspired by the Luxor. And it's run by this gang of reformed cannibals called the White Glove Society, who dress up fancy and wear ballroom masks. But, so basically and like some of them want to go back to being cannibals, some of them don't want to go back to being cannibals. It's a whole thing. If only there were some charismatic courier who could help them decide. Let's see, is there anyone else on here that's new? No. Okay. So, then here you have Jules. I don't know who he is. I think he's an NCR guy who you have to help, who helps you track. I think Jules helps you track down these people who kidnap people into slavery. Then you have Motor Runner. He's the leader of the Fiends, which are a tribe, not a tribe, a gang of drug using bandits, basically. And they're just all whacked up on like all kinds of like weird methamphetamine type drugs, like Psycho is the in-game equivalent. And you have Rex, who is one of the best followers, because one, you can take, so in the game you can take one humanoid companion and one non-humanoid companion. Rex is one of the two non-humanoid companions. He is a robot dog, a cyber dog. He is adorable. He does... Oh, the thing you need to know about him. So, let's see. What is Rex? Rex doesn't like hats. And he doesn't like people who wear them, according to this. So Rex has a long history that's only vaguely hinted at. He was a police dog. He was a Legion bloodhound or whatever. But like he doesn't like the Legion because they they tortured him. Anyway, then on the second level, Arcade Gannon. He is played by not Eugene Levy, Zachary Levi, aka Flynn Rider, aka Shazam. He's this like kind of neurotic scientist who's well-meaning but doesn't have very much confidence in himself, which is weird because he has kind of this mad scientist design in this artwork, which makes me think this is like all like concept art that got put in here, which is really cool that this is basically an art book as well as a usable playing card deck. Dixon, drug dealer. Van Graffs, they're the ones who set up in the Silver Rush. You can tell here. They're kind of they're bad guys. Nothing much to them. Followers of the Apocalypse. They're the scientist branch, or they're basically like a bunch of scientists who set up in the Mormon fort in Fremont Street, and they're responsible for like most of like doctors in the Vegas area. The Kings, as I said, gang of Elvis impersonators. Jean Baptiste, he's basically he's kind of the muscle for the Van Graffs. And yeah, nothing much to say on like how they're related. It would seem that Atomic Wrangler means that they're a good person involved with the politics of Fremont Street. Silver Rush means they're a bad person involved with the politics of Fremont Street. Or Freeside. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Oh, okay. So I should have said this earlier. So the king is President Kimball, as you can see. And then, yeah, as I said, Chief Hanlon, war hero, Colonel Moore, high-ranking quest giver, so Queen. And so as you can see, where the hearts were NCR characters, the Spades are Freeside characters. These are the characters who are unaffiliated with anyone else. Which makes me wonder who Jules is then, because he's not part of Freeside. Motor Runner definitely isn't part of Freeside. Whatever. And then for the final two things, you have Julia Farkas. She's the leader of the Followers of the Apocalypse. She's a really nice person. Just wants to help, or just wants to heal people and help her friends get rid of their addictions. And the King, the leader of the Kings. He is awesome. He's cool. He's suave as heck, as you would expect someone who's based on Elvis to be. And he wears a special white suit called Viva Las Vegas. Called Viva... Is it Viva Las Vegas or Viva New Suit? And then, so the diamonds are the New Vegas Strip. Basically, this is where all the major casinos are, and the factions involved. Ace is Nero. He's one of the two head honchos of Gomorrah, which, and Gomorrah is run by much more mafioso types. Like, literally, their two leaders are named Big Sal and Nero, which couldn't be more, mafia-coded if you tried. Then you have Marilyn and Jane, based off Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell, two robots who are based on the leader of New Vegas's favorite actresses. Heck Gunderson, his son was kidnapped by cannibals. Gee, I wonder if that has anything to do with the White Glove Society. Sarah Weintraub, she currently runs what was Vault 21. It's now just a hotel and casino. Michelangelo, her brother, he designs all the neon lights for New Vegas. Tommy Tommy Torini. He's kind of like, what's his name? The black dude from the Rat Pack. Um, the one who, like Sammy Davis Jr. That's it. Basically, you have to recruit stuff for his nightclub. You can get a couple musical acts and some really funny comedic acts. One who's insult comic and another who's basically Billy Crystal. Like, it's literally just the dude from Clown Hospital and Harold and Kumar Escape Guantanamo Bay doing a really good Billy Crystal impersonation. Mr. New Vegas, the unseen DJ who runs Radio New Vegas, voiced to perfection by Wayne Newton. Like, the thing you need to know about Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas is they have amazing radio stations. Fallout 3 has Malcolm McDowell as John Henry Eden and Eric Todd Dellums as Three Dog, who are basically FDR's Fireside Chat and Wolfman Jack. And then you have Radio New Vegas, which has just Wayne Newton doing Mr. Las Vegas, but it's Mr. New Vegas. And he is just suave as heck. It is just perfect. Alright, anyway. White Glove Society, as I said, they're the cannibals. Omertas, they're the guys who run Gomorrah. They're the mob. The chairman, as I said, they're the ring-a-ding, baby. They're the Rat Pack. Swank is Benny's right-hand man. You know, the guy who shoots you in the head, but he doesn't know that Benny's an asshole. Pardon my French. This, Marjorie, she runs the Ultralux. There's basically two sides to the Ultralux quest. Either you help the cannibals or you don't help the cannibals. If you help the cannibals, you help Mortimer. If you don't help the cannibals, you help Marjorie. Then you have the man himself, Mr. House, played by Rene Auberjonois. Great character, based on Howard Hughes. He's this, like, genius inventor, predicted the war, wanted to survive it. He put himself into this, like, stasis pod, where it lets him live for an extended period of time, but he's just a shriveled up husk in the pod. A human pickle, basically. Or human raisin, I should say. But he's, like, connected into Vegas's, like, whole infrastructure, so he can control all the robots, he can do all this other stuff. And, like, you see him here is how he presents himself, is this, like, Walt Disney, very, intellectual, charismatic figure. And he is the king of diamonds, the king of Vegas. And finally we get to the clubs. The Legion. So, the Legion, the first thing you need to understand about the Legion is they suck. They suck a lot. They are slavers. Basically what happened was a follower of the apocalypse named Edward Sallow and his Mormon buddy Joshua Graham went to spread the word of Jesus as well as scientific integrity, scientific knowledge to the tribes in the Far East. And by Far East, I mean New Mexico and Arizona. Because they were in California and Utah, respectively. And so they get to one of the tribes, and the people there are like, well, F you, and capture them. But then the tribe is attacked by another tribe, and that tribe almost wipes them out. And Edward's like, look, you guys are idiots. You need someone to teach you how to do warfare. And basically becomes the god king of this tribe. And then that tribe conquers more tribes, that tribe conquers more tribes, and eventually you end up with the conquest of 87 tribes, a despot with a god complex who thinks that he's this, like, who thinks he's got the answer to all the problems because he read a few books about ancient Rome. And his buddy Josh got burned alive and tossed into a canyon when he failed to take the dam. Alright, anyway. Legatlantius, he's the big bad of the Legion. He's your He's your end game quest giver when you get to, if you play for the Legion side, or he's the final boss if you play for literally any other side. Dancy and Lexus, they're high tier quest givers. Ulysses was supposed to be the Legion follower. He got axed from the initial game and got added in as the final boss to the expansion Lonesome Road. He's a really cool character, but he talks way too much. Bear, bull, bear, bull. Like, it's very clear that the writers thought they had something clever going on with the whole. One side, the Legion is represented by a bull. The other side, the NCR, is represented by a bear. Bear market, bull market. It's all an allegory about stocks, which is weird because, like, when have stocks ever mattered to Vegas? Vegas is gambling. Granted, stocks are like gambling, but not quite. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. Is there any interesting comparisons to make? Not really. The characters are given their associated casinos up here, and these three aren't really given anything interesting. Alrighty. Then we have Canyon Runner. I don't think I've ever met Canyon Runner. Like, maybe, I play a lot of pro freedom characters, so I don't really do Legion quests that much. Aurelius the Phoenix, he's like the leader of a port city that the Legion has. It's like Legion has two main encampments, Cottonwood Cove and the Fort. The Fort is across the dam from the NCR. Like across the Grand Canyon from the NCR. And so, they have this big position they look out on, but then they also have Cottonwood Cove, which is a small port that I think exists in real life, but I'm not sure. Ciri, she's a slave. She's basically your healer if you do that kind of thing. Cato Hostilis, he's the guy who you have to team up with to kill President Kimball. Speculatores, there's a gladiator ring you can compete in. The Frumentari are spies, which, kind of hard to be a scout when you have a wolf's head on you. The Praetorian Guard are Caesar's protectors. Volpes and Culta. He actually looks like this, not this, in game. He is considered one of the most evil characters ever. He completely murders an entire city, except for one person, and then basically tells you, like, I'm not going to kill you. I just want you to spread the message of what you saw here. And he says it in such a cold voice, like almost synthetic. That's how cold and emotionless it is. It is really good voice acting. And, like, I don't like a lot of voice acting in New Vegas. I think it's kind of flat, all told. But that voice is perfect. And then Lupa, she's one of the brains you can get for Rex when his brain starts to fail. The thing about it is you have to give her an honorable death in the ring to do that. And then finally, the man himself, Edward Sallows, or as he's now known, Caesar. And for some reason, he's got Gamora on the back. What does this quote say? Yet we are at the throat of the Great Bear. Victory is at hand. He's played by John Doman in the game, in what is honestly probably the worst of the celebrity performances. Trying to think all told, who are the celebrity performers? So, let's see. William Sadler plays a cowboy robot named Victor. Really good. In fact, there's this joke to be made about how, like, who the casting director for New Vegas was just a big fan of DS9, because I think the doctor who saves you from death is also a DS9 alumni, and of course Rene Auberjonois is Odo. Also, there's a weird comparison to be made about, like, both Odo and Quark went on to play parodies of Howard Hughes in video games. Odo went on to play House, and Quark went on to play Andrew Ryan. Odo went on to play Robert House. not Greg House. Boy, that'd be a different performance, wouldn't it? Just really, really. So, and then let's see. Danny Trejo plays a ghoul named Raul. Raul. Oh, I never realized that rhymed. He's really cool. He's basically like a zombie cowboy himself. No, you can't recruit him for the Atomic Wrangler. Let's see. Is there anyone else? I went over. I went over Mr. New Vegas. I went over House. Oh, I went over Benny. The only one Felicia Day plays the Brotherhood of Steel follower. If you don't know who the Brotherhood of Steel are, basically basically the guys who originally created Fallout really liked this story called The Canticle of Leibowitz about Catholic monks who preserved technology in the post-apocalypse, and so they adapted that into the Brotherhood of Steel, which are basically the same thing. They are a pseudo-religious organization that were made from the remnants of the U.S. Army that preserve technology. And by the time you meet them 200 years later, that translates to only we are allowed to have the technology. No one else can. And Veronica, the follower, the Brotherhood of Steel follower you get, wants to break them of that habit because she believes that the only way the Brotherhood can progress forward is if they learn to share and to be a part of society. She's played by Felicia Day. And then you have Boone. Boone is voiced by oh Lord, I'm blanking on his name, but you'd recognize his voice if you heard him because he's like a prolific voice actor. I believe he was also on Boy Meets World, but I think most people my age would know him as Max Goof from Goofy Movie. Or Chester McBadbat from Fairly Odd Parents, maybe. He's a really good voice actor. His performance as Craig Boone is a little stilted, but that kind of makes sense because he is a very tragic character who is kind of like, I've seen some shit. I'm just totally checked out now. Then I went over Chris Christopherson. Dean Domino, very small role, but in one of the DLC, he's played by the guy who played Pontius Pilate in Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie. And he does a fantastic job as well. And then you have the think tank from Old World Blues, which is the second to last DLC. Also really good. Has a bunch of like 80s actors, 80s voice actors like Lion-O from Thundercats and stuff playing the over-the-top scientists. And one of the scientists is just basically Doc Venture from Venture Brothers, even voiced by the same guy. Oh, and then the last one I'll talk about. So you know that guy who I said got tossed into a canyon, the Mormon guy, Joshua Graham? He lived. And he's voiced by Keith Sarsgaard. His name is really hard to pronounce. And he's does a phenomenal job. But all he has to really do is do Bible quotes in a deep voice, which already kind of sounds cool. But I'm trying to think what y'all would know him from, because like the only other things he's really done is he's the voice of all the Dark Elves in Skyrim. He's the bad guy in the BioShock 2 DLC, Minerva's Den. And I think like the thing most normal people would know him from is he played the cop in Dark Knight who Joker says, "Would you like to know which of your friends were cowards?" And so he's like, I know you're going to enjoy this, so I'm just going to have to enjoy it more. He's the guy who says that. And he plays Joshua Graham, and he does an amazing job. Like, You know, he's one of the standout, like, background performances in Dark Knight, and he's even better in New Vegas. I just want my phone call. Sorry. Anyway, that's the card. That's the cards in New Vegas. These are, it's amazing these have survived as long as they have. They survived long enough for me to actually care enough to put them in sleeves. And I do love, like, some of the background art on this, too. Like, this was originally clearly a pinup deck, but because it's the post-apocalypse, you can see that they hastily scrawled their logo and lingerie onto her. Like, well, no, she already has lingerie, but, like, you can see, like, there's a little, like, scratched-on skirt to her now, as well as the Gamora G. And you can see just some, like, wear and tear that's designed into the cards. It's really lovely. My brother and I used to play blackjack with these every morning before school. There's actually a coffee stain on the back of one of these because we used to stop at Casey's for coffee before school too. You know, it's weird. It's weird the things that maintain both sentimental and monetary value to you, because these are actually worth something. I don't know how much. Last I checked, they were at 90, but mine are probably devalued because of the coffee stain and because the box is gone. But at least I've got these guys. So yeah, sorry for the long video. But, you know, this is something that interests me. And if it interests you too, you might like it. You all have a good one. This is Royce Miller. I'm out.